4 degrees here on Monument Circle. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending at 5:03. A suspect has been arrested. Jaden Arnold reports on the tragedy in Auburn.
Terry Dwayne Sands II, a resident of Marion, has been arrested and charged with resisting law enforcement causing death to law enforcement officer in connection with the death of Master Trooper James Bailey of the Indiana State Police. Trooper Bailey lost his life in a vehicle crash while attempting to de-escalate a high-speed chase in DeKalb County. Reports indicate that Sands hit Trooper Bailey with his car while attempting to evade a police officer from the Fort Wayne PD. Sands is being held in the DeKalb County Jail and investigations are ongoing. Jaden Arnold, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Indiana State Police have announced that you can now donate to a memorial fund in honor of the fallen officer. The Indiana Fallen Heroes Foundation has created a fund in Bailey's memory. You can donate at indianafallen.org or by Venmoing funds to @Indiana-Fallen-Heroes. When the Indiana Hoosier men's basketball team plays Michigan on Sunday, it will be a special time for the seniors. That's because Sunday is senior night. On Friday, Hoosier head coach Mike Woodson said those seniors, Trace Jackson Davis, Miller Kopp, Race Thompson, and Xavier Johnson, have had great careers.
You know, they've all have made big contributions to our ball club.
He says those seniors have been working hard with their teammates to try and help them bounce back from Tuesday night's loss to Iowa. Tip-off Sunday is at 4:30 with pregame coverage starting at 3:30 right here on 93 WIBC. It's 5:04. Here's your forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Partly cloudy skies for tonight. Can't rule out an isolated shower north. Low temperature in the mid-30s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy. High temperatures get into the mid to upper 50s. On Wish TV, Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse from 93 WIBC.
On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Indy, finally springtime, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Edwina did. She called Rhino Shield.
Over the years, I've had to touch up the house. I just got to the point where I couldn't spend any more money on the outside of the house. And when I saw Rhino Shield, I thought that was the answer to my problem.
Rhino Shield's not paint. It's better.
I'd had painters here before, and it was usually quite a disaster with them leaving their equipment here and picking up things in the yard. But Rhino Shield was right on it.
Indy, now get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
The gentleman said, if you're interested, give me a call. And I said, honestly, can you come tomorrow?
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
Don't paint. Don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment. And this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And good afternoon and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're pleased to be with you. Turns out it's a rather beautiful day out there, starting to warm up a little bit in the sunshine, dramatically better than yesterday. My God, what was that? I stepped into an establishment to smoke a cigar about 6:30 or so and walked out, and there was 1.5 inches, 2 inches of snow on my car. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And at any rate, very much nicer. That's Indiana, as we know, in the late winter. What a lot of people here call a fool's spring. Yeah, that'll do it to you, especially when it's close to 70 last Wednesday. Saw a lot of motorcycles out. But in the meantime, we've got a lot to talk about in the General Assembly in particular, and some bills that are moving forward, but some bills that are not. And that's extremely important. You know, every year in the General Assembly, you know, one of the reasons I formed the 2A project was to have a presence, have a voice to represent Hoosier gun owners and be there in the General Assembly, both trying to promote and get past pro-Second Amendment bills. Leading example of that was constitutional carry last year, which we finally got done after 10 long years. But also important bills that we've passed into law. And the list is long. And sometimes, when we get frustrated on something like constitutional carry, where it took us way too long to get that passed. There were a lot of states that I wouldn't necessarily call as pro-Second Amendment as Indiana, who passed it long before we did. And it was because leadership primarily in the Indiana Senate didn't support it. But we got over that hurdle. But in the past, notwithstanding when we get frustrated, we need to realize how many incredibly great bills we've had passed into law here in Indiana that I really think puts us, now that we have constitutional carry, I think it puts us very near the top in terms of pro 2A states as far as how guns are regulated, how gun owners are regulated. Really put our laws up against about anyone's. People talk about pro-gun states like Texas. I hear this all the time. Oh, well, it'd be great to live in a pro-gun state like Texas. Texas has a lot of laws that we don't have here in Indiana that I would never want. For instance, if I want to swing by the local watering hole on the way home and have a beer in Indiana, and I'm carrying my lawfully possessed firearm, totally legal. In some states, including Texas, if an establishment serves alcohol, you can't carry a gun there. In some states, like Texas, it's illegal to have any amount of alcohol in your system while you're carrying a gun. Now, is it smart? Is it good policy? Is it responsible to go get stone-faced drunk while you're carrying a gun? Of course not. But in the meantime, if you want to stop off and have a beer on your way home from work and you're carrying your gun, the state of Indiana won't make you a criminal like the state of Texas will. And frankly, I treat carrying a gun and having a beer a lot like I treat driving and having a beer. If I wouldn't be comfortable driving with however many beers or perhaps a nice bourbon I care to enjoy on the way home, if I wouldn't be comfortable driving, I'm not comfortable carrying a gun. But my point in all of that is not to advocate for drinking while you're carrying a gun. My point is there are laws we don't have here in Indiana that a lot of states have, and I really do put us way at the top of the list when it comes to states that respect, through their legislation, the Second Amendment rights of their citizens. We also have had some huge successes, and sometimes as gun owners, again, when we get frustrated, we need to step back and take a look at things like we were the first state in the country to ever have a lifetime license to carry. Now, a lot of us have been saying for a long time we shouldn't have to have a license at all. But look what Indiana did. We first adopted a lifetime license. You go in, you pass a background check one time, you get your license to carry, and you never have to go back and pay another fee. You never have to go back and do another background check. Now, the state police continuously cross-reference. Periodically might be a better word, but they cross-reference the criminal histories with the list of people who have a license to carry. And just because you passed a background check once to get your license, you go out and commit a felony, or you commit any number of other offenses that can make you a prohibited possessor, you get a domestic violence order of protection issued against you, then you're no longer eligible for a license. You'll get a certified letter in the mail from the state police that say, we've uncovered information that indicates you're no longer a quote-unquote proper person as defined by statute to have a license to carry, and your license is hereby suspended pending a hearing. And you can either attend that hearing and defend your status as a proper person to have a license or not. But my point in all of that is we had a lifetime license. And as long as you or I don't do something knuckleheaded to make us lose our license, we keep it forever. And then eventually we made it free. We made the 5-year license free, then we made the lifetime free. In fact, while we were fighting for constitutional carry, what I heard all the time from legislators who were opposing constitutional carry, they said all the time, Guy, why are you fighting so hard for this? All you need to do is go get your lifetime license. You never have to worry about it again. Well, why is this so important to gun owners? That is to do away with the requirement of going to the government and acquiring permission on the front end before you can exercise a constitutional right. And that's how I'd answer the question. I would say, I want to live in a state that honors and respects the Second Amendment on par with every other constitutional protection. I don't know of another constitutional right where I have to go apply for a permit or a license in order to exercise a right I already had. If I have a right to protection against unreasonable searches and seizures, so that police can't just walk up and kick my door in with no warrant and no probable cause, if I already have a right to that protection against unreasonable searches and seizures under the Fourth Amendment, should I have to go in and apply for a permit? Yeah, I need a placard that the state of Indiana issues to me only after a background check, that I can hang on my doorknob or I can nail to my front door that says this house is protected against unreasonable searches and seizures. Go to the neighbor's house. He didn't apply for his permit. He has no rights under the Fourth Amendment. Kick his door in. Does that make any sense to you? I need to go in and pay a fee. For many, many years, I had to pay fees, go through a background check, apply for a license so I can wear a medallion around my neck or get a tattoo on my chest. That'd be good. It says this guy is protected against cruel and unusual punishment for any crime. So I get convicted of some misdemeanor and the local authorities want to skin me alive, hypothetically speaking, for whatever crime I committed. And they rip my shirt open, fully intending to skin me alive, and they go, oh, hold on, he's got the tattoo. He's got the medallion that says he passed a background check. He paid his fee. He got his permit, his license to be protected against cruel and unusual punishment. Damn. Okay, bring the next guy in. He didn't apply for his license. We're skinning him alive. Does that make any sense to you? When you put it in the context of other constitutional freedoms, it makes no sense. Not to mention the First Amendment. The closest thing we have, when I say no other right is treated like this, is the local ordinances around that require you to get some kind of a permit or pay some kind of a fee to have a public gathering. The First Amendment not only protects those rights we talk about the most often, the free speech, freedom of press, freedom of religion, also talks about the right of peaceful assembly. In fact, one time when I was testifying for constitutional carry, this was years ago, I had a Democrat representative in committee try to cross-examine me, and he says, I keep hearing people say no other right is regulated like this. So, Guy, in a lot of cities, including Indianapolis, you have to go get a permit to have some kind of a parade or other public assembly, and the First Amendment protects that right. Do you think that's unconstitutional? I said, absolutely. What do you say, Representative? I'll write the bill. You introduce it. We'll call the First Amendment Freedom Restoration Act right here in Indiana. You write it. You file it. I'll push for it. I'll testify, and we'll restore First Amendment rights the way they ought to be right here in Indiana. This guy looked at me, give me the fish mouth. The fish mouth where your mouth's kind of forming a circle, but you can't get words to come out. That's the closest analogy I can think of. But that's why we pushed for it. That's why we got frustrated for so many years we couldn't get it passed. But I want to take a step back because we got that done. We had a lifetime license. We have the strongest self-defense immunity law in the country. Now, that may be my ego speaking because I wrote it. But it's incredibly strong. It protects your right not only to defend yourself, but then to be free from civil liability if the scumbag who is trying to hurt you, hurt your family, or hurt some other third person where you lawfully, justifiably used force against that scumbag. It prevents the scumbag from turning around and suing you, or the family of the dead scumbag if you use deadly force. And we're going to take a break. We're a little past the quarter hour. We're going to talk more about this when we come back. But it's the strongest self-defense immunity bill in the country. And we got that done here in Indiana. But I'm going to wrap up that sort of long preamble and talk about, okay, what's going on this year and where are we playing both offense and defense? Some of these things I've talked about here on the show before, some I have not. We'll kind of do a bit of a report card on the halfway point. We're more or less at what we call halftime, often, colloquially, in the Indiana General Assembly, because if bills haven't gotten through the Senate by now, they're dead. If they haven't gotten through committee and gotten a vote, then unless the language of those bills somehow get amended into some other bill that's still alive, it's dead. And as far as bills we oppose, that's good. And so now the whole process starts over, and the same true, obviously, is bills introduced in the House. But now the whole process starts over, and bills that are still alive, having survived and been passed in their originating chamber, we now have to see what happens to them when they cross over and go to the other chamber, House or Senate. We'll talk more about that when we come back. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
When you wake up.
State police are looking into why an officer.
When you work.
Must deal with the debt limit.
When you drive home.
Were alerted by a canine that drugs.
Traffic when you need it.
It's going to get brutal out there.
And updates all the time. Mornings with Tony Katz.
Never dawned on me. Wait a second.
Middays with Kendall and Casey.
Some of that is true.
Are you paying your hard-earned money?
Afternoons with Hammer and Nigel.
Was this just the excuse? That's a fireable offense.
93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Premier Arms, located in Brownsburg. Premier Arms has the largest and most diverse selection of new and used firearms in central Indiana, with over 1,500 firearms in stock, from pre-Civil War firearms all the way through modern Class 3 firearms as well. They have the best prices on new and used firearms with a knowledgeable, professional, and courteous sales staff. They're also Indiana's largest Benchmade knife stocking dealer, and I'm a big fan of Benchmade knives. Stop by and see them at 3754 South Green Street in Brownsburg. Give them a call at 317-858-3030, or you can always check them out online at premierarms.com. That's my friends at Premier Arms, located in Brownsburg.
Indianapolis, do you have old, ugly, or even damaged concrete? Not sure what to do about it, but you know you need to do something? Well, you need to call Galaxy Concrete Coatings. This product is out of this world, and it's right here in Indianapolis. And just in time to give your concrete floors a transformation. Galaxy Concrete Coatings is 4 times stronger than epoxy. It's designed to not only work on your garage floor, but you can use it on driveways, walkways, around your pool or patio, commercial or residential. And it's UV resistant, which means it will not yellow. And even better, it can be ready to go in about 24 hours. Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com or call 317-751-9070. Indy, you're ready for a transformation. Call Galaxy Concrete Coatings today, 317-751-9070. Galaxy Concrete Coatings. They are out of this world.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-200-1966. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-200-1966. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-200-1966. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-200-1966. 800-200-1966.
Guy Relford here. Time again for the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show this coming weekend at the State Fairgrounds, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's never been a more important time to exercise our rights as true Americans. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See the best in sporting, hunting, and personal protection gear, plus great displays of Americana. Come see us this weekend at the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show, Friday 2 to 7, Saturday 9 to 6, and Sunday 9 to 4. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See you there.
If you live around here, you've seen us flying red, white, and blue since 2006. Locally owned and operated on US 31, the people of Johnson and surrounding counties trust Marshall Mechanical Heating and Cooling to keep their furnace working properly. We want to earn your business the Marshall way with honest service and fair pricing. Call the Marshall now and get on the schedule for a maintenance check and filter change. Marshall Mechanical, your trusted, local, independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Today on Hey Culligan, sustainability and better water. Here's Sam.
Hey Culligan, I'm really into sustainability. My clothes, my utensils, my food. But how do I get more sustainability from my water?
Super question, Sam, and the answer is an always-on drinking water system from Culligan, which helps eliminate the equivalent of 15 billion single-use plastic bottles a year.
Whoa, that's a ton of sustainability.
416,000 tons, Sam, and we're already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with the local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
For those fortunate enough to help the person who has always been their hero, find the care guides you need to help at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. But if you feel different, you drive different. So don't drive high. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. I got to tell you, of everything filed in the General Assembly this year, one bill had me by far and away the most concerned. And this was very concerning for a number of reasons. And this was Senate Bill 295. And the short title, the informal title, was just talked about red flag laws. And a little bit of background, if you listen to the Gun Guy Show, you probably know most of this. Indiana was the second state in the country to pass a so-called red flag law that allows guns to be seized from people determined to be quote-unquote dangerous, and dangerous is defined in the statute. And importantly, this is when they haven't committed any crime. So what makes a red flag law so unusual, or at least not unusual in the sense that a lot of states have passed them now. I think well over 20 states, probably close to half the states in the country. But what makes it unusual in terms of how we treat individuals in this country is we're talking about seizure of property when someone's not been convicted of a crime, and deprivation of a constitutional freedom under the Second Amendment. And we've had this since 2005, and I've litigated a lot of red flag cases. I'm the only lawyer in the state who's taken the red flag statute to the Indiana Court of Appeals twice. I'm the only one who's done it once. I've argued to the Indiana Court of Appeals. I lost in a 2-1 decision, although I ultimately won the case and got the gentleman's guns back. But I argued that the statute was unconstitutional. And in a 2-1 decision, the Court of Appeals, who I respect a lot, I respect the panel who ruled on this, in a very long decision, it was like 47 pages if I remember, ruled no, in fact, the statute's constitutional. So I've litigated a lot of these cases, and the one thing that distinguishes Indiana law from several other states in terms of what their red flag law looks like is that while your guns can be taken from you, let's say police get a report that you're suicidal, you're in your home, and your significant other calls and says, that you just threatened to kill yourself and held a gun to your head. And the police need to come out and take your guns away. Simply based on that report, and of course they'll follow up when they show up at the residence, but based on that report, police are going to take your guns. They'll take the gun you may have used, or at least allegedly used, to threaten your own life, and they'll take any other guns in the house. And then if a gun or guns are seized without a warrant, police officers have to submit an affidavit to the court that establishes probable cause to believe that you're dangerous as a justification for having taken your guns. And the court reviews that affidavit and it determines there was either probable cause to take your guns or there wasn't. If they find probable cause, then they're supposed to schedule a hearing if they can within 14 days. Although, if you're the one whose guns were taken, you can request a continuance. If you want to gather more evidence, you might want to bring in experts. In a case of someone alleged to be suicidal, a lot of times in my cases, I want to bring in an expert. I want to bring in a psychologist, psychiatrist who's seen the person multiple times and said, no, there's no indication here this person's suicidal. So you can get more time, up to 60 days if you need it. So why was I so concerned about Senate Bill 295? Again, what's a little different about our statute is that in the meantime, before you've had full due process, and by full due process, I mean the opportunity for a hearing, to present your own evidence, to be represented by counsel, to confront the witnesses against you. Because keep in mind, I can give you a statistic in terms of the percentage, but a significant number of red flag cases, and I know because I've defended them, they're brought maliciously. They're brought frivolously. For any number of reasons, I've seen them instigated by vindictive spouses or soon-to-be ex-spouses or ex-spouses. I've seen them initiated by jealous coworkers. I've seen them initiated by neighbors who are angry over something petty like where people are leaving their trash cans. And they say, man, neighbor Bob, I know he's a big shooter. I see him lugging his guns out to his car all the time. I know he's a competitive sporting clay shooter, or I know whatever. He's a firearms instructor. That's how he makes his living. I'll fix him. I'll just report to police that he threatened me with a gun and he's crazy and he needs to have his guns taken away. I've seen that case. Police officer. I know I need to red flag this guy so he won't be able to do his job. I'll say he's dangerous. He threatened me or he's suicidal. So even in those frivolous cases, what's different about our statute is that until you get your full due process where you can be represented by counsel, you can present your own evidence, you can confront the witnesses against you, including someone making a frivolous claim. By the way, Jim Lucas and I had a bill passed 2-3 years ago that now says if you make a false claim that someone's dangerous under the red flag law, that's a crime now, which it had not been before. And we fixed that. It now falls under the false reporting statute. But you don't lose your status as a proper person, whether to have a license to carry or to purchase a firearm or possess other firearms in Indiana under our statute until you've had due process. And doesn't that make sense? If we're going to strip someone of their constitutional freedoms, shouldn't they have the opportunity and the right to defend themselves first? To have due process. That's what the Fifth Amendment and the 14th Amendment protect in this country is due process. Well, of course, yes. We're a little past the bottom of the hour. I'll talk about Senate Bill 295, how it changed the due process requirements of our red flag law, why that was so concerning, and what the current status is when we come back. We'll also go to the phone lines. We had one gentleman call, which I think a good question, who seems to have dropped off, and we got our pal Buzz on the phone as well. But hey, if you had to drop off, I'll be taking calls when we come back. But I think I remember from his conversation with producer Carl what the question was, which I can address as well. But give us a call, 317-239-9393. You got questions about what's going on in the General Assembly, about red flag laws, self-defense immunity, or whatever else, just give us a call, 317-239-9393. We'll be right back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
When traffic's a bear, Matt Bear is a beast.
On the north side, 465 East is a parking lot for Meridian. Also, we have slow traffic from 82nd Street all the way up to 860.
When you need to get from here,
if you're coming in from Hamilton County, it's going to be tough
to there.
Into bridge construction at 465 and 60.
Matt Bear, mornings and afternoons.
It's going to be tough getting home tonight, but you'll be binge watching Stranger Things before too long.
93 WIBC.
Selling homes in today's market is tougher, but the outlook is improving. Interest rates have lowered and homes are selling. If you have been on the sidelines, now may be the time to sell. Talk to the agent I trust and recommend, Mark Dietl. Maybe you're worried because your home needs costly repairs or upgrades. With Mark Dietl, there are no required costly repairs. Pick your move date. Stay in your home after the sale stress-free while you close your dream home. There are no long-term contracts, and you can cancel at any time. Listen to what Chris and Carly in Indianapolis had to say about working with Mark Dietl. Jobs and life had us moving out of the country. We were excited, but our home was not an easy sell, so we were stressed selling. We knew Mark Dietl would guarantee our home sold, so we called them. As promised, our home was listed and sold in the time frame we needed. Call the agent I trust and recommend for the details. Mark Dietl guarantees an offer in 3 days for full market value, or it's listed for free. Call Mark Dietl at 317-755-4232 or go online to markdietl.com. That's Mark, DIETL.com.
Pat Sullivan here. Do gurgling pipes and running toilets keep you up at night? Become a member at Hope Plumbing and have the comfort of knowing you have a plumber on call. For only $8 a month, you get the ease of having your own plumber on hand, a 10% discount on all plumbing services, 1 annual free mainline cleaning, 1 annual plumbing safety inspection, and all the trip charges waived. Call Hope Plumbing today and become a member to start saving big.
Hey, I'm Pastor Micah Beckwith.
And I'm Pastor Nathan Peternell.
Are you tired of a woke culture?
What do you mean by that, Micah?
Woke is defined as anti-American, pro-Marxist, ideological indoctrination.
Yeah, I don't want any of that.
Well, you know, at Life Church, we are the church where
woke goes to die.
So if you want a church that's going to preach the word of God boldly and unapologetically,
then you want to come to Life Church. We got 4 locations all around the city. Go to lifechurchin.com.
Corsetti. A massive explosion in Frederick County, Maryland today after a tanker truck with flammable material crashed near a residential area, killing the driver and damaging other vehicles and homes.
One house located on Apple Avenue suffered extensive damage, which displaced the occupants of the home. 2 other residents received minor damage from the fire.
Frederick County Fire Chief Tom Coe. And after a month, the concerns of residents in East Palestine, Ohio aren't going away.
Norfolk Southern began removing track near the derailment site and excavating the contaminated soil, which the EPA says could send vapors and odors into the air. But they maintain the air is still safe for folks who live there. The railway said it hasn't had any discussions about buying people's homes and paying for them to move, even though some folks are still getting sick and want to leave, but can't afford to.
Fox's Garrett Tenney. America is listening to Fox News.
You had a solid retirement dream. Sell your home in a few years, bank the equity, downsize, and travel. But inflation and recession has you wondering if all of your hard-earned equity will still be there. What if you could recession-proof your equity right now? You can with TrueHold. TrueHold will buy your home for its best current value before a recession can erode it. You get to bank all the cash now and live in your home for as long as you want. And TrueHold covers all property taxes, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. And since TrueHold pays your home's current value in cash now, it's yours to do whatever you'd like. Don't wait for inflation, recession, and interest rates to erode your home's value. Visit TrueHold.com and discover how much TrueHold will buy your home for today, based on its best current value, not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit TrueHold.com. The smarter, fastest way to cash out on your home's value without having to move. That's TrueHold.com.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Couponing. Wow, you didn't strike me as the coupon type.
Just trying to stay ahead of inflation. Gas, groceries, everything. It's all more expensive. I need to save wherever I can.
Have you tried Upside yet?
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that I use that pays cash back for every gallon of gas I buy. You've got to buy gas to get around anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Come on, does that really add up to anything?
I've already made around $200. The extra cash helped pay down my bills, and I even had a little extra left to treat myself.
And the Upside app is free?
Totally free, and the cash back is real. You can transfer the cash right to your bank account.
I'm downloading Upside right now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code OIL to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code OIL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code OIL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So as I mentioned at the top of the show, if a bill hasn't gotten through its originating chamber, in other words, if it was filed in the Senate and it hasn't gotten through the Senate yet, then it's dead. Now again, we can never mourn too quickly or celebrate too quickly, because the language of a bill can get amended into another bill that's still alive. They can even do what's called a strip and insert, which is where the entire language of a bill that's still alive gets completely stripped out and the language of a new bill is reinserted into it that may have absolutely nothing to do with the original bill. That can be a good thing when you're trying to get a bill passed, especially when a particular committee chairman has killed it. This is what we did to get constitutional carry passed. Chairman Liz Brown in the Judiciary Committee in the Senate last year had constitutional carry pretty much dead as a doornail. Defied Senate leadership, who said, give it a hearing. And she gave it a hearing. She just completely manipulated the hearing so as to convince enough senators to vote against it in committee and not give it a vote on the floor of the Senate, which is what all we were ever asking for. And we went through this so-called strip and insert process. So you can't celebrate too early, you can't mourn too quickly if a bill hasn't survived its originating chamber. But for something like Senate Bill 295 on red flag laws, I think we're pretty close to being able to celebrate. And what this did, and let's give it a little background. And again, that's just this week we can say it's dead in the Senate, unless something fairly dramatic happens. So that's a new development, the fact that it didn't progress as it needed to progress at this stage in the legislative process. But let's talk about a little background. This bill was asked for essentially the Indiana Prosecutors Association. And you might recall the Indiana Prosecutors Association and I were pretty diametrically opposed on the issue of constitutional carry. But in this context, I think the Indiana Prosecutors Association, and by the way, I've had meetings with these folks. They're good people. We just disagree on a lot of things. And what are the Prosecutors Association, what's their job? I mean, they will tell you it's to promote justice, and I'm sure that, again, they're good people. But what do prosecutors want? Prosecutors want the law to make it easier for them to convict people. I think that's a fair statement. And they want to remove laws or amend laws that make them more difficult to convict people. And in this context, they wanted to make it easier to take guns away from people. And in my view, they were acting at the behest primarily of Ryan Mears from Marion County, the elected prosecutor. And why is that the case? Prosecutor Ryan Mears here in Indianapolis faced a fair amount of heat. Now, it wasn't enough to get him defeated in the last election. He still won by something like 70% of the vote against a very solid Republican challenger, Cindy Carrasco, who I really liked. I thought she was very well qualified, and I thought she ran a solid campaign. But those straight-ticket voters in Marion County didn't want to hear anything about it in terms of a viable alternative. But notwithstanding his success in the election, he faced a fair amount of heat over the fact that the FedEx shooter, the person who was able to legally buy 2 rifles that he used in a mass shooting and kill multiple people, I believe 9 people lost their lives at the Federal Express facility here in Indy. Prosecutors, before any of that happened, and over a year prior to the actual FedEx shooting, prosecutors in Marion County, Ryan Mears' office, simply failed to file a red flag proceeding after IMPD had seized a shotgun from this same shooter, after his mother and his sister walked into a police station and said, "This guy's dangerous. He says he wants to commit suicide by cop. He's already violent." They told cops that he had punched his mother. Now he'd bought a shotgun. Said he wanted to die in a shootout with cops. And so cops red flagged him. And they did their job. They took the gun. They filed their documentation with the prosecutor's office to establish they had probable cause to seize the gun. Ryan Mears' office did nothing with it. It just sat, didn't file the case. Ultimately, the family agreed to not pursue recovery of the shotgun. But in the meantime, the guy not having gone through a proceeding to determine whether he's dangerous, because Ryan Mears never took the bat off his shoulder and took a swing, remained a lawful gun owner and able to buy more guns. And so Ryan Mears, to defend that, when people said, "My God, cops took a gun from this guy, said he was dangerous, you never filed the case, so it never went forward." He said, "Well, that's because of defects in the statute. That's not my fault. That statute's flawed, and we need to fix some serious defects in the statute to allow us to file more of these cases." Senate Bill 295, introduced this year, is Ryan Mears' cover. It's Ryan Mears scapegoating the statute for why he never implemented the statute, why he never began a proceeding to begin with. How is that? How did we beat it? How did we get it killed in the Senate? We'll talk more about that when we come back, and issue some thank yous to the folks who decided this was bad policy and bad law for the state of Indiana and didn't allow it to go forward. But right now we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
It's best, Mr. President, that you don't know what you're guilty of. It's best that you not know that these documents pertain to conversations regarding Ukraine, where your son was having business dealings and making millions of dollars, and now they, meaning the free and thinking world, can connect your classified document, the classified documents in your possession, to things that may exist on your son's laptop.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Essentials of Indiana Gun Law, put on by Tactical Firearms Training, LLC. This is our most popular class. It's 4.5 hours of the most important legal information that you need as an Indiana gun owner. The next one's coming up Saturday, March 25th. So 3 weeks from today, if my math works out. That's 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at Indy Arms on the northeast side of Indy. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples, for the most important legal information you need. A detailed discussion of when you are and are not justified in using force, including deadly force. How the laws differ depending on where you are, whether you're in your home or just out walking down the sidewalk. Any number of other issues that are directly relevant to you if you own a gun and certainly if you carry a gun. Very important. We'll detail all the different changes that resulted from the passing of constitutional carry less than a year ago. So check that out at tactical-firearms.com. You can register right online at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on Essentials of Indiana Gun Law at tactical-firearms.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Mom, Dad, Sis?
Here we go again.
Why are you in a suit? Picture, if you will, a world with the best network imaginable. I'm talking about the Xfinity 10G network. Go on. Mom, remember how your reality shows wouldn't load with all of us online? Now you can binge. And Susie, we'll have fast internet in the basement.
Nice.
If you have any questions, here's my card.
This is just your name on a gum wrapper.
Introducing the 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through March 21st, new customers can get 200 megabit Xfinity internet during our limited time Xfinity 10G network launch celebration for just $25 a month for 2 years. Plus, there's no annual contract required and you get Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to Xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and devices. Actual speeds vary.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career and they talked to me about it.
He was done in just months.
I did do it online.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at My Computer Career.
It worked for me and I know it can work for you.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Where are your life's most important memories stored? In your basement, right? Cracks in your foundation and high humidity could mean water's coming in your basement, eventually causing flooding, and you'll lose all your precious photos and memories. Crossroads Foundation Repair travels all over the region, repairing foundations with the highest quality service. Call now and get a free sump pump with full basement waterproofing system. Read our 5-star reviews at crossroadsfoundationrepair.com and call 844-975-6735.
With Spectrum Mobile and the epic new Samsung Galaxy S23 series, you get the fastest Samsung phone delivering even faster speeds with Spectrum Speed Boost. Trade in with Spectrum and get $600 off the new Samsung Galaxy S23 series, plus the value of your trade-in. Visit a Spectrum store or spectrum.com/Samsung for details. Service not available in all areas. Internet required. Advanced Wi-Fi and compatible equipment required. Restrictions apply.
When I was younger, I may have did some stupid things, even committed some crimes, but I am not a criminal.
I work for youth advocate programs, I was Tamani's advocate, helping him stay out of jail, stay in the neighborhood, and get a job.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her.
YAP is a community-based alternative to youth incarceration and neighborhood violence. Youth advocate programs. Learn how at yapinc.org.
The latest local news, commentary from Tony Katz, Kendall and Casey, Hammer and Nigel, podcasts. Listen to the station live, whenever, wherever, online at WIBC.com. Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. And I'll tell you what, before we continue the discussion on our red flag laws and what the proposed amendment to those laws in a bill that, for now, has died in the Indiana Senate. Before we continue that discussion, let's go to the phone lines. We've had some folks holding for a while. Scott, you called in early on, man. I think you called back. Thanks for calling back.
Well, thank you for taking my call. I have a quick question.
Sure.
Constitutional carry. I'm glad we've got that.
Yep.
My question is, I have a smaller. One of my guns is a smaller LC9 Ruger 9mm. My holster for it actually goes in the front pocket. So, is that considered concealed carry, or does the constitutional carry trump that law?
Well, historically, and Scott, thanks for calling in with your question. Historically, if you had a license to carry in Indiana, that it wasn't a concealed carry license. It covered both open and concealed carry. And if you got a license, you could choose how you wanted to carry. Constitutional carry works exactly the same way. So under our constitutional carry law, if you're at least 18 and you're not prohibited from possessing a firearm under either state or federal law, then you can carry a handgun, and you can open carry it or you can conceal carry it. So I understand what you're saying. If you have a smaller gun, and I know the gun you're talking about because I bought one for my wife here a couple of years ago. LC9S is what I got her. But if you're pocket carrying, by the way, you always want to still have a holster. I'm not suggesting you don't do that already, but you want a pocket holster so you're protecting the trigger while you're carrying it. But if it prints, in other words, if you can see the outline of the gun, is that considered concealed or open? Well, I would say it's still concealed. Just because you're printing or you can see the outline of the gun doesn't change that. But it also doesn't matter because our law, either whether you have a license or you don't, constitutional carry works the same way. You can carry either openly or concealed. So hope that answers your question. Let's go back to the phone lines, and our pal Buzz has called in. Hey, Buzz, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing? Thanks a lot. Hey, Guy. Okay, I got two real quick ones. First one is on the red flag. If you are falsely flagged and they take your firearms, does that still give them the purview to fire each one of them and get the ballistics, and they can take up to 2 years to get them back to you?
Wow.
And my second question real quick is, do you plan on doing your show next month at the NRA?
Oh, yeah. Great. Two great questions, Buzz, man. Thanks for calling. Yeah, and what Buzz is talking about is in Marion County, and there was just an excellent expose, I think it's fair to call it, done by Richard Essex of Wish TV, and it's a long story. It's 9 minutes long. I've posted it on my social media, but it has to do with the fact that Marion County, if your gun is taken into the property room for any reason, could be red flag case, could be because it's evidence in a crime. It could be because you were the victim of a crime. If you got your house broken into and people stole your guns and police recover your guns, well, your guns go into the property room. After the case is over, your guns are no longer being held as evidence. It can still take you up to 2 years to get your guns back. And get this, in Marion County, if you don't have an original receipt, not an original, but a copy of a receipt showing that you're the purchaser of that gun, they won't give it back to you anyway. And the reason it takes 2 years is they run ballistics, they do background checks, and they check the serial number. And there are 21,000 guns in Marion County currently in the property room, according to this story. So, but no, quick answer to your question is if your guns are taken and say the gun's been shot and the ballistics are relevant, you can get that done much quicker because it's evidence. You can generate that evidence, and that's why you need due process. Separately, yeah, I'm sure we will do a live show from the NRA annual meeting, just like we did 4 or 5 years ago when it was 2019, so it was 4 years ago. Right now, we're coming up on the top of the hour, so it's time to take a break. We'll be right back with the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Those life-changing happenings, like a new baby or a new job, can be way overwhelming, stressful. Matt Bear here. Hey, everything seems to get turned upside down. Selling your home, yeah, that's opening up a whole new world, one that should be exciting. That's where Open Door comes in. See, when life's doors open, let Open Door handle the house. When I sold my house north of Indy, it felt like a dozen people were involved, and it made me crazy. It took forever. The hassle was real. And so many strangers trampling through my house. With Open Door, you avoid all of that. You can close in a matter of days and even choose your closing date to avoid transitional housing. Move when it works for your life. You can even sell your house and buy your next one all in one move. Start with a free all-cash offer on your house today at opendoor.com. That's opendoor.com. Open Door is represented by Open Door Brokerage Incorporated, license 02061130 in California, and Open Door Brokerage LLC in its other markets.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Couponing. Wow, you didn't strike me as the coupon type.
Just trying to stay ahead of inflation. Gas, groceries, everything. It's all more expensive. I need to save wherever I can.
Have you tried Upside yet?
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that I use that pays cash back for every gallon of gas I buy. You've got to buy gas to get around anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Come on, does that really add up to anything?
I've already made around $200. The extra cash helped pay down my bills, and I even had a little extra left to treat myself.
And the Upside app is free?
Totally free, and the cash back is real. You can transfer the cash right to your bank account.
I'm downloading Upside right now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code OIL to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code OIL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code OIL for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career and they talked to me about it.
He was done in just months.
I did do it online.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at My Computer Career.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
Teachers shape the future. Right now, in a classroom somewhere in the United States, there's a teacher inspiring a future scientist who'll make preventing pandemics their life's work. Sharpening the mind of an aspiring environmentalist who'll help combat climate change. And generating possibilities for a student who'll be the first in their family to graduate college. Explore a career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
Broadcasting from the Peterman Brothers Heating, Plumbing, and Electrical Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Pushing for more drilling. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Alaskan officials are urging President Biden to approve a massive oil drilling project in their state. Republicans say the president is rejecting the plan because of his climate goals. Democratic Congresswoman Chrissy Houlihan.
We need to make sure that we're moving as aggressively and rapidly as we can towards energy independence and energy and renewable energies all at the same time.
Supporters say it would benefit Alaska's indigenous communities economically. The Biden administration has dedicated nearly $370 billion to climate and the Inflation Reduction Act. AAA Mid-Atlantic reports gas prices Friday were a penny a gallon higher on average nationwide than a week earlier at $3.39 a gallon for regular. Analysts say prices will likely go up with increased demand and a switchover to a more expensive summer blend. A tanker truck crash in Frederick County, Maryland caused a massive explosion, killing the driver and damaging a home extensively. County Fire Chief Tom Coe.
The hazardous materials involved in the incident are contained.
No other injuries are reported. The cause is under investigation. The Conservative Political Action Conference in Maryland wraps up today, but some major conservative figures are not attending. Notably, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, and former Vice President Mike Pence. Tennessee Republican Congresswoman Diana Harshbarger speculates why.
What I'm thinking is that they're trying to get everything together so that we can keep our commitment to the American people people. You know, it's a job. We have the majority now, and we have to work.
Former President Trump capping off the event today. Self-help author and spiritual advisor Marianne Williamson announced her Democratic candidacy for president. The 70-year-old is the first Democrat to formally challenge President Biden. America is listening to Fox News.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
5 inches of rain by tomorrow.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Broadway in the Circle City. Cloudy and cool overnight, headed into a somewhat cloudy Sunday. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. Broadway in Indianapolis has announced its lineup for the 2023-24 season, and it includes multiple award-winning favorites. The 23-24 season kicks off in November with Disney's Frozen, followed by Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, Mamma Mia, Hadestown, and Tina, the Tina Turner Musical. You can purchase a 23-24 season subscription right now online. Tickets for individual performances will be available at a later time. And you do not have to wait until November to catch a show in the Circle City. Les Mis, Hamilton, and Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations are all yet to hit the stage for the 22-23 season. When the Indiana Hoosier men's basketball team plays Michigan Sunday, it will be a special time for the seniors.
That's because Sunday is senior night. I'm Sean Herrick. On Friday, Hoosier head coach Mike Woodson said those seniors, Trace Jackson Davis, Miller Kopp, Race Thompson, and Xavier Johnson, have had great careers.
You know, they've all have made big contributions to our ball club.
He says those seniors have been working hard with their teammates to try and help them bounce back from Tuesday night's loss to Iowa. Tip-off Sunday is at 4:30 with pregame coverage beginning at 3:30 on 93 WIBC. Sean Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
As of Saturday evening, the average price for gas across the state was $3.42 per gallon, according to GasBuddy.com. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Partly cloudy skies for tonight. Can't rule out an isolated shower north. Low temperature in the mid-30s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy. High temperatures get into the mid to upper 50s. On Wish TV, Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse from 93 WIBC.
Before I was adopted, I felt alone.
I felt nervous that I wouldn't have a family.
I was getting older and older. I didn't think I was going to get adopted.
With help from the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption, Lexi, Connor, and LaShawna now have a forever family and the foundation for a bright future.
When I was adopted, it was like, wow, I get to settle, and this is permanent.
After I was adopted, I felt happy.
Adoption changed me for the better. I feel like I can be whoever I want to be.
Every child deserves a safe, loving, and permanent home. Help the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption find forever families for children who have been lingering in foster care the longest. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
Amber and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment. And this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom.
Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome to hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're glad you're with us. By the way, you've heard some ads running here on the Gun Guy Show for the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. That is coming up again here this coming weekend. So Friday, March 10th is when that kicks off. I'm proud to work with them. Producer Carl and I just recorded a couple of new spots for them, which I'm always pleased to do. And I'll be out there. If you're going to be out, you may very likely run into me, particularly Saturday before I come down and do radio. It's fun to stop in the Indy 1500 and see what's going on out there, what they have for sale, and what I might need to augment what I already have in my possession. So giving a little bit of a halftime report on the Indiana General Assembly. And I spent a long time talking about Senate Bill 295 because this one concerned me. It concerned me primarily because it was introduced by a Republican and a senator who's been pro 2A historically, and who I have a lot of respect for. And I thought the fact that it was introduced by a Republican, it was going to get more consideration than it otherwise might. But I really give a lot of kudos here to Senate leadership, including Chairman of the Courts and Criminal Code Committee in the Senate, Aaron Freeman. And if you recall me mentioning Senator Freeman before, he was an absolute rock star on constitutional carry. And he met with me and members of the Indiana Prosecutors Association who were pushing for the bill, and we were able to talk it out. And we weren't able to come to an agreement on what a bill like this should look like because I was not going to agree to anything. And it's not just me. I mean, just, representing Indiana gun owners and the person who has responsibility locally here for Indiana from the NRA. John Weber was there as well. John joined us by conference call. I pretty much did all the talking, but what I explained is why I had a problem with stripping due process out of a bill so as to deprive people of their constitutional freedom with no ability to defend themselves. And by the way, once you were found to be a prohibited possessor, simply based on a judge finding probable cause based on one report, one side of the story, and it could be a frivolous, malicious report done simply to injure you. Under this bill, that would have gotten reported that you're now a prohibited possessor with no ability to defend yourself, would have gotten reported to the National Criminal History databases that you're a prohibited possessor when you've had no ability to defend yourself. Oh, hell no. And I'm glad that's gone away. Some other ones that don't deserve as much attention, but certainly raised my eyebrows when I read them. There was a so-called safe storage bill that would make it a crime if you own a firearm, you have a firearm in your home, and you fail to either keep that firearm locked and unloaded or store the firearm and ammunition in separate locations from each other, that is the firearm and ammo. So it's and. Keep the firearm locked and unloaded and store the firearm and ammunition in separate locations. And that is if there's a minor present in the home or a vehicle where the firearm is located. So minor meaning under 18. So I could have a 17-year-old state champion in sporting clays who lives in my home. And if I have my personal defense handgun sitting on my nightstand with that kid who could teach gun safety classes, who's completely trained and authorized to possess guns in my home, simply having my handgun on a nightstand while that kid is home makes me a criminal. Does that make any sense to you? That's the kind of crap we have to fight off every year. Had another one that I got a little personal chuckle out of, was brought to make possession of a gun at a polling place a crime. And I got a chuckle out of that because I litigated this issue. I had a client, this goes back a few years now. I had a client who was an active duty Marine at the time who went to vote, and he was voting at a fire station in St. Joseph County, South Bend. And he's a smart guy. He'd researched the laws. And he knew it was not illegal to carry a gun in a fire station. Well, that was his polling place. That was his designated place to go vote. And he said, well, there's no law against carrying a gun in a polling place, either in Indiana or at the federal level. There's no gun against having a gun in a fire station. I'm going to carry my gun when I go vote. And so he went to vote at this fire station, and a person who was both an assistant chief at the fire department and a police officer for, I believe, the St. Joseph County Sheriff's Department, if my memory serves, saw him walking in with his gun and said, no, thou shalt not pass here. You will not vote while you're carrying that gun. And my client, who was not quite yet then my client, he was my client about 15 minutes later. But he said, why? It's not illegal to carry a gun in a polling place, not illegal to carry a gun in a fire station. And they I don't know whether it was ignorance or absolute falsity intentionally, but the guy lied. He goes, yes, there's a federal law that says you can't vote in a polling place. The client said, no, there's not. Well, you can't have a gun in a fire station. No such law. Yes, there is. He goes, no, man, I'm telling you. He goes, show me the law. Let's go. Let's get our phones out. Let's get Google out. Show me the law that says it's illegal to carry a gun in a polling place or a fire station. And the guy finally had to fall back on his little moment of authority and said, well, it's my rule. You're not voting in my fire station and my polling place with a gun. And so he kicked the guy out. Well, my client called me. That's when he became my client. He called me from South Bend and said, can they do this? And I said, no, they cannot do that. And I said, and it violates what we have in Indiana, another great law that we have here in Indiana that a lot of states don't have, which is a preemption law. What's preemption law say? It means that local governments can't make up their own rules. They can't regulate firearms. There are certain exceptions to that, like they can say you can't have a gun in a county courthouse. And there are limited other exceptions, but for the most part, local governments can't regulate firearms, including the carrying and possession of firearms, period, end of story. We passed that in 2011. Great law. It means the city of Bloomington, as the mayor down there continuously wants to do, can't regulate firearms to deprive you of your rights. The mayor of South Bend or the city council or Hammond, and they're what they call common council up there, they can't have regulations of firearms, can't do it. And here, if the city of South Bend or St. Joseph County or the St. Joseph County Sheriff's Department or the St. Joseph County Fire Department has a rule that says you can't take your gun into a firehouse or you can't take your gun into a polling place, they can't do that under the Preemption Act. And so I called the police chief. I believe it was the sheriff. And said, hey, by the way, he was not available. He said, well, he's very busy. It's election day. I'm like, yeah, well, he needs to be a little busier and go fix this problem he's got at the volunteer fire station located at such and such an address. Because he's got a guy there telling my client he can't vote. And it's illegal. You can't tell him that. You violate the preemption law. So, well, I don't know if I'll be able to get a hold of him. Like, really? You can't get a hold of the sheriff? Doesn't have a radio, doesn't have a cell phone. Call him and tell him, I just want my client to be able to show up and vote. That's easy. Got no response. So about 10 till 6, when the poll was going to close, my client showed back up. Said, I'm here to vote. And the same guy, they met him at the door, didn't even allow him to go in the building. Thou shalt not pass. Nay, you armed person, you cannot vote. Take your gun back to the car or you can't come in here. And he goes, I'm not relinquishing one constitutional right to exercise another. No. So then you can't vote. Did not let him vote. So we sued them. And they fought and haggled and kicked and screamed, but eventually they realized they broke the law and had to pay my client a settlement. And on that basis, I was very proud at the time. The election board, the state election board, disseminated information to all the county election boards. It said basically, unless the polling place is already a place you can't legally carry a gun, like a school, you can't exclude people from voting because they're carrying guns. And it's kind of fun because the very next election, I went to vote in a primary in the next election. And I went in to vote. And one of the inspectors or judges or whatever, the different officers there, officials there at the polling place, I called him over and I go, hey, did you guys get any instruction just recently on whether people can carry guns here in the polling place? He goes, oh, yeah. They really emphasized that. They told us we can't kick people out just for carrying a gun. I said, well, I'm glad to hear that. I didn't brag to him on my involvement in that process. So I was interested when this year a Democrat in the House introduced a bill to make it illegal at the state level to carry a gun in a polling place. And I got to ask, why do you suppose that is? Now, this is a senator who's long stood against gun rights. And every time I have any kind of a hearing in the Senate, this guy's always there, and he and I have a debate. And I know he just doesn't like the Second Amendment. He just doesn't like gun rights generally. He just doesn't like guns. But what do you suppose the motivation is to say you can't carry your otherwise legally owned gun into where you vote? I mean, I carry a gun everywhere I can lawfully carry a gun. I, like most people, carry concealed. Who should care one way or the other? I'm not committing any crime. Who should carry? Whether one of those places I lawfully carry is when I go vote. I can't think of a single reasonable, justifiable reason. So that, like many of these other anti-2A bills, has now died. I'll tell you what, we're a little past quarter hour. We're taking a break. We come back. I'll go back to the phone lines. We've had some people call in. Oh, I have had them drop off as well. Hey, if you got bored or lost patience with how long it took me to get to the phone lines, give us a call back, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. Glad to take your questions or comments here on the air. We'll kind of wrap up the discussion on what's going on in the Indiana General Assembly, broaden things out a little bit, talk more about what's going on nationally when we come back. And as I mentioned, we'll continue to take your calls as well. 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
Okay, so the premise of this movie, I'm gathering, is some drug lord, dealer, whatever, lost a bunch of cocaine. They send these people out to get the cocaine. They encounter a bear who got to the cocaine like before they did.
Yeah, and then the bear goes on a killing spree because he's all hopped up on the cocaine.
Well, sure, why not?
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our next Essentials of Indiana gun law class is coming up Saturday, March 25th, just 3 weeks from today, 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. at Indy Arms on the northwest side of Indy. It's 4.5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. You can sign up right online at tactical-firearms.com. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. We'd love to see you there for the most important information you need if you own a gun and certainly if you carry a gun, and how to stay on exactly the right side of the law. You can sign up at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Spring in Indy. And since 2001, Rhino Shield has been covering Indiana homes and businesses. Just ask Mike.
I was watching TV one night and saw the Rhino Shield ad, and I thought, well, if they can do a house, they can probably do a building.
And Rhino Shield's not paint, it's better.
So they came out and they gave me a price, showed me how the Rhino works, how it lasts, and how the guarantee works.
Business owners, you too can get the 25-year protection of Rhino Shield right now for 15% off the regular price.
They started on the building. They waited for us to leave, and they worked Saturday and Sunday so they wouldn't affect our business at all. This was the great part of it. I came back Sunday night, and you couldn't even tell they were here. There was no paint on the ground. They did a fantastic job.
Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
Don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Pat Sullivan here. The floodgates are about to open in Indiana as spring approaches. Do you know if your sump pump is working properly? A sump pump is vital to protecting your home from heavy rains and rising waters that do nothing but leave damage in your home. During the month of March, my friends at Hope Plumbing will buy back your old sump pump for $300 with the purchase of an upgraded sump pump and a new battery backup system. Call Hope Plumbing today at 641-HOPE. That's 641-HOPE.
Theme weeks, family nights, live a dream trips, and more. Whether you're looking for a short-term rehabilitation stay or want to downsize with our independent living apartments, you'll find there's always something to celebrate at a Trilogy Senior Living community. Trilogy is proud to take care of seniors' day-to-day hassles so they can enjoy life with friends, family, and a staff committed to exceeding their expectations every day. Visit us today at www.trilogyhs.com/live to find out why Trilogy is where family comes to live.
Guy Relford here. Time again for the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show this coming weekend at the State Fairgrounds, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's never been a more important time to exercise our rights as true Americans. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See the best in sporting, hunting, and personal protection gear, plus great displays of Americana. Come see us this weekend at the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show, Friday 2 to 7, Saturday 9 to 6, and Sunday 9 to 4. It's the Indy 1500 Gun and Knife Show. See you there.
Stop by Family Dollar and find more to treat your family to the perfect lunch. Start with Bumblebee chicken or tuna salad, only 2 for $3. Then don't forget everyone's favorite snack. Choose from a variety of Lay's chips, now only 2 for $6. Wash it down with a selection of Powerade drinks at 3 for $3. And for dessert, Little Debbie's 6 to 12-pack snack cakes are just 2 for $5. Family Dollar, helping you do more.
This time next week, I'll be sick in bed with West Nile virus, thanks to a mosquito bite right in front of my house.
In 8 minutes, my daughter will be in an ambulance, having an asthma attack, triggered by cockroaches.
I'm going to be bitten by a tick today. I won't even know it until Lyme disease turns my life upside down.
Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org. A public service message from the National Pest Management Association and the CDC.
Text and whatever. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit IndyHumane.org.
He's a Second Amendment attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Let's go right to the phone lines. We've had Chris call in with an interesting question. Chris, what do you got for us?
I was just going to ask you, first of all, I appreciate your show. I think you've got one of the best shows out there. But
thank you, man.
I was just going to ask you, what if you get a gun handed down to you? I got a couple of guns handed down to me from my dad. He passed away a couple of years ago, and I go out and get in a car wreck, whatever. Police end up with my gun, and there is no. He bought it maybe 34 years ago. There is no trace or receipt. So does that mean you can't never get your gun back?
Yeah, well, according to the Marion County and IMPD, and they say they've been doing this for a long time. Now, this requirement for a receipt is new to me. I'm hearing that for the first time. And get this,
crazy.
you know where the first person I heard that from? My mom.
Oh, really?
No kidding. My mom had a gun taken from her by a guy, former employee, who then got pulled over and arrested for any number of different crimes, including having a firearm by a serious violent felon. It was my mom's gun. And she had the owner's manual. She didn't have a receipt. And she went down. When they eventually released the gun, this is years after the guy was arrested, it's no longer evidence of a crime. She went down and said, nope, you need a receipt from the store where you bought it. She goes, well, I don't have a receipt. Well, then you can't get your gun. So to answer your question, Chris, they would just tell you you're out of luck. They're basically, in my mind, stealing your property from you because you can't prove your own property is yours. And keep in mind, in most situations, the gun's been seized from you. In other words, the question you just asked is, if you're in a car wreck and the gun, and you go to the hospital, your car gets impounded, they search your vehicle as part of impounding it, they find the gun, it goes to the property room. The gun's not evidence in any crime. Okay, it's going to take 2 years potentially for them to release it because they do this ridiculous process where they run ballistics. And keep in mind, there's a constitutional issue here. There's a Fourth Amendment issue. Fourth Amendment prohibits unreasonable searches and seizures. When they run ballistics on your gun, they don't just run ballistics. They run those. That is, they're comparing the projectile. They test fire it, and they compare the projectile they get out of it to other projectiles that they have in the system. They are going to compare the markings on the casing in terms of an extractor mark or a striker mark, and put those into the same kind of comparison against other casings that they may have in the system. And then all that information, and this came out again in this really excellent story done by Richard Essex at Wish TV. And I published it on my social media. I'm sure you can find it on the Wish TV website. But they're also sending all that information to the ATF database in Washington. Your information on your gun that's not involved in any crime. You're not a suspect in a crime. The gun's not evidence in any crime. And IMPD is taking that and in my mind, conducting a search via test firing and running this information, doing this database comparison, and then sending all that information to a federal database where it's kept for all of posterity. How is that okay? How is that justifiable when your gun's not evidence of any crime? Now, somebody goes out and commits a murder with a gun. We want to know whether that gun was used in any other murders. Knock yourself out. Yeah, once the case is over, it shouldn't take 2 years to get the damn gun back if you're the lawful owner of that gun. But the part that bothers me is a situation involving my mom. She was a victim of the idiot taking her gun. Well, and by the way, the guy was driving her car when the gun was seized. They took a gun out of her car. Why should she have to produce a receipt? Unless they have some evidence that she's not the owner. In your situation, Chris, you're driving your car. You have a wreck. IMPD impounds, I should say, your car, takes your gun out of your car. They're essentially taking that gun from you. Unless they have some evidence that that's not your gun, why the hell should you have to prove it is? If you got pulled over for, not you, anyone got pulled over for an OWI, operating while intoxicated, and you're carrying a gun in a holster on your hip. Now, as I mentioned, carrying the gun isn't a separate crime, but you still go to jail for the OWI. Your gun goes to the property room. The gun's not relevant to the criminal investigation whatsoever. It's only relevant of whether you were over the legal limit and you were driving. The gun has nothing to do with it. They took the gun out of your holster, out of your car, and send it to the property room. Now you have to prove it's yours? They took it from you. How do we know it's your gun? Because you took it out of my holster. And by the way, you ran the serial number to make sure it's not stolen. So why the hell shouldn't you give me my gun back? What evidence do you have it's not my gun? Comes up stolen? Okay. You got something to talk about. It doesn't? Give me my damn gun back. This is a way for Marion County. This is Marion County, I'm telling you. And it's IMPD stealing guns from people. That part's intentional. Let's make them show us a receipt. People don't have receipts for guns. Everybody knows they don't have receipts for guns. I couldn't tell you exactly how many guns I own, but I have damn few receipts, I'll guarantee you. You take my gun from me, the case is over, give me my gun back. That's not hard. And the IMPD assistant chief in the article, it was interviewed by Richard Essex, who, again, did just a fabulous job in this whole expose. And he said, well, we don't want to be in a position where we give a gun back to a murderer. Well, if he's a murderer, then charge him with a crime, he won't get his gun back. If he's a prohibited possessor because he's, say, a murderer, then he doesn't get his gun back. If you run the serial number, it doesn't come back as stolen. There's no indication it's a continuing evidence in a crime, including a murder. How is that justification for keeping that gun? It doesn't make any sense. The whole thing makes me angry. Good news is, after this story aired, and I was interviewed extensively, we talked for quite some time in my office. It's something I've been harping about for a while. And by the way, quickly, here before we take a break, people ask me the question, well, why hasn't somebody sued IMPD? Well, I've had that conversation a bunch. In fact, I talk about this in the interview that was aired by Wish TV. I say, well, we can sue them. You want to sue them? Let's sue them. What's your gun worth? Let's say it's a really nice gun. It's $1,000. It's a SIG Legion 229. $1,200 gun. Nice gun. Awesome. I want that gun back. Great. Let's file a lawsuit. Am I going to take that on a contingency basis where I get 1/3 of $1,200 for litigating an entire lawsuit? And by the way, typically you're not asking for money damages. You're asking for return of the gun. How do you economically justify filing that lawsuit? Somebody says, well, no, I'll pay you by the hour. Okay. Going to spend $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 on legal fees to get a $1,200 gun back. See, IMPD knows people aren't going to do that. Now, I take a lot of cases pro bono. I represented the Greenwood Park Mall shooter for free. I haven't charged him a dime. A lot of other cases come across my desk where I decide for economic reasons the person can't afford to pay a lawyer. Okay, I'll take it for free. Haven't done that one yet. I'm getting pretty damn close. And it's something the Two-Way Project wants to take a look at as well. But in the meantime, after the story aired this last week, then I had multiple legislators, including my friend Jim Lucas, and said, hey, man, write me a bill. Write me some language. Let's put it in a statute. Let's say IMPD can't do legally what they're doing right now. You bet. Working on it right now. We're going to change the law. And if that doesn't work, although I see no reason why it shouldn't, if that doesn't work, then we'll sue their ass and we'll go from there. You can't deprive somebody of their property. You can't deprive somebody of their constitutional rights and have as an excuse, oh, well, you can't prove your property's yours, or sorry, it just takes us 2 years to run a search on your property where we have no probable cause to believe the gun was even involved in a crime. That makes no sense. It makes no sense on a constitutional basis. It makes no sense from a policy perspective. And we're going to change it. We'll change it in the courtroom or we'll change it in the legislature. We're going to change it one way or the other. We'll go back to the phone lines when we come back. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
The greatest national anthem of all time, track and field star Carl Lewis.
And the Rockets.
Uh-oh. Now, Nigel, I don't have a Grammy Award. I am not someone who's a professional singer. I don't think you're supposed to say uh-oh in the middle of your song.
I'll make up for it now.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
My drinking was out of control. It was tearing my family apart and controlling my life. I had a choice, and I chose Landmark Recovery's addiction treatment program. They showed me a proven pathway to recovery. What will you choose?
Choose life. Choose Landmark Recovery. Visit landmarkrecovery.com to learn more.
If you live around here, you've seen us flying red, white, and blue since 2006. Locally owned and operated on US 31, the people of Johnson and surrounding counties trust Marshall Mechanical Heating and Cooling to keep their furnace working properly. We want to earn your business the Marshall way with honest service and fair pricing. Call the Marshall now and get on the schedule for a maintenance check and filter change. Marshall Mechanical, your trusted, local, independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
At Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance, we're not just good at insurance. We're good at Dillon's Jam Session Truck Insurance.
Where the backwoods party and the diddle-de-doo.
We're good at Ben's Hype Machine on Wheels Insurance.
You a boss. You were him.
And we're good at Ethan's SUV with surround sound insurance.
Dad, play Johnny Johnny Apple Pie.
You got it, bud.
Start with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance and stop knocking on wood.
Inspiration grows here, the Indiana Flower and Patio Show, March 11th through 19th at the Indiana State Fairgrounds and Event Center, presented by Indiana 811. This is the ideal place to find great deals, new ideas, and practical advice with trusted local experts. Stroll through this year's Indianapolis Landscape Association Feature Gardens, where spring is in full bloom and bursting with color. From landscaping and outdoor living to kitchens, baths, and more, don't miss the Indiana Flower and Patio Show. Plan your visit and save on tickets at indianaflowerandpatioshow.com.
News, I'm Mary Corsetti. Self-help author Marianne Williamson becomes the first Democrat to declare candidacy in the 2024 presidential race.
This system will not change itself. The status quo will not disrupt itself. That's our job.
President Biden is expected to announce a re-election campaign sometime in the coming weeks or months. This as Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley is hitting the campaign trail in Palm Beach, Florida, where she slams the president for his economic policies.
He's spent $5 trillion in 2 years. His only regret is that he hasn't spent more. His platform for 2024 would spend even more money, tax even more money, and let our children figure out how to deal with it.
Haley also joined other Republican 2024 candidates, including former President Trump, at CPAC in Maryland, which ends today. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi, this is Denny Smith, and it's springtime in Indiana, and that means everything from slush and dirt to seed pods and mulch being tracked into the home. And between the kids, the dogs, and even ourselves as carriers of this junk onto the floors and carpets, it's time to call Zero Res. Zero Res is my go-to team for cleaning carpets, hardwood floors, ceramic tile and grout, and even area rugs to give it that smart, lasting spring cleaning. Winter was messy, but it's soon to be a bad memory with the help of Zero Res. I call them because no one else can clean with ZR Water, the patented technology that cleans with electrolyzed water. No soap, no residue, no harsh chemicals. Zero Res cleans so much better with less flooding of your carpets and padding. The reason is the water itself attracts the dirt. They'll stay cleaner longer with a softer and fluffier feeling that you will absolutely notice. They have over 3,000 Google reviews with a 4.95 out of 5-star rating. And right now, when you mention WIBC, you get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $149. Call 388-5141 or schedule your appointment at ZeroResIndy.com.
Indianapolis, do you have old, ugly, or even damaged concrete? Not sure what to do about it, but you know you need to do something? Well, you need to call Galaxy Concrete Coatings. This product is out of this world, and it's right here in Indianapolis. And just in time to give your concrete floors a transformation. Galaxy Concrete Coatings is 4 times stronger than epoxy. It's designed to not only work on your garage floor, but you can use it on driveways, walkways, around your pool or patio, commercial or residential. And it's UV resistant, which means it will not yellow. And even better, it can be ready to go in about 24 hours. Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com or call 317-751-9070. Indy, you're ready for a transformation. Call Galaxy Concrete Coatings today, 317-751-9070. Galaxy Concrete Coatings. They are out of this world.
Show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. And I'll tell you what, we've had some folks on hold up. We had one drop off again, but let's still go to the phone lines. And we got Keith. Keith, welcome to The Gun Guy Show, man.
Hey, glad to hear you. Yeah, just have a question on constitutional carry reciprocity.
Okay, what's your question?
Well, if I'm a citizen of Indiana and I travel to a state that normally recognizes Indiana gun permits,
yep,
but I don't have a permit because I'm carrying on constitutional carry, do they recognize that?
Yeah, okay. You want to know how that works?
Yeah, please.
I wrote an article. First of all, thanks for calling the Gun Guy Show, Keith. We appreciate it. I wrote an article for the 2A Project website. And so just go to the2aproject.com. That's with a number 2. So the number 2A project.com. And scroll down to where the articles are. And I think it's the very first one. And it's entitled How Reciprocity Works Under Constitutional Carry. And it's something that people need to understand if you're going to travel and rely on constitutional carry. And the starting point is 32 states recognize the Indiana license to carry. And I list all 32 of those. Okay, so if you have a license to carry, you're good to go to those states. Now, several of those states have restrictions. And they grant reciprocity, for instance, only to people who are 21 and up. In Indiana, you can get a license to carry at 18. And some states, like Florida, for instance, just by way of example, says, oh, yeah, we recognize the Indiana license, but only for people 21 and up. So you got to know that. Well, you have to know exactly the same kind of thing in terms of who has passed or what states have passed constitutional carry. So, for instance, 24 other states besides Indiana have passed constitutional carry, but a bunch of them only recognize constitutional carry, that is, having a handgun in your possession without a license, if you're 21 and up. Now, it sounds like from your voice, somebody like you or me, we're well over 21, good to go in those 24 other states. However, then you got to ask yourself the question, are there any other restrictions? And, for instance, North Dakota says they recognize constitutional carry, but only for residents of North Dakota. So just knowing that a state has passed constitutional carry doesn't answer the question. You have to know whether they have other restrictions, like only 21 and up, or only for residents of the state. Now, the good news is, of the 24 other states that have passed constitutional carry, 23 of them are like Indiana and recognize it for both residents and non-residents. North Dakota is actually the only one that restricts it to North Dakota residents, or to their own residents. So you got to be aware of the age restrictions, and in several states, again, just going down the list: Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Georgia, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Maine. Kentucky's important because it's right next door. Ohio, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, West Virginia and Wyoming all have constitutional carry, but only for those 21 and up. Again, North Dakota only for North Dakota residents. So you do the math. There are 32 states that recognize our license. 23 of those have constitutional carry for non-residents. That means there are 9 states where you still need an Indiana license to be able to carry there. Also means there are 18 states, or maybe 17 when you take Indiana out of the list. There are 17 states where you can't carry there at all. They don't recognize our license. So I still would like to see a national reciprocity bill pass, although to the extent I want to keep the federal government out of the regulation of firearms as much as possible, I'd rather see the courts overturn the restrictions in those 17 states that don't allow non-residents to carry even with a license issued by their home state. In other words, if a state has to recognize my marriage license under the 14th Amendment, equal protection, full faith and credit, if a state has to recognize my marriage license, if they have to recognize my driver's license, why shouldn't they have to recognize under the 14th Amendment my license to carry? Why should I be able to, or why should I become a felon simply because I inadvertently crossed the state line into New Jersey or New York or California or or Illinois, depending on how I'm carrying the gun. If I have it in my vehicle, that's a safe harbor in Illinois. But you see my point. So in my mind, 14th Amendment ought to protect us. That's why I'd like to see a court case that says exactly that. And this Supreme Court would likely rule exactly that way if they see the right case. So that's how it works. But in the meantime, if you want the specifics, what states have passed constitutional carry, what states require it to be only 21 plus for constitutional carry, and what 32 states recognize our license, you can go to the2wayproject.com. While you're there, join the 2-Way Project. We'd like to have you on our side in the fight for constitutional freedoms under the Second Amendment here in Indiana and beyond. In the meantime, we're taking a break. Give us a call in this last segment. If we get to you, if we can get to you, we will. Oh, well, you know what? We've got people already on hold that'll probably do us, and we'll wrap up this segment of the Gun Guy Show when we come back. So it's Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
When you wake up.
State police are looking into why an officer.
When you work.
Must deal with the debt limit.
When you drive home.
Were alerted by a canine that drugs.
Traffic when you need it.
It's going to get brutal out there.
And updates all the time. Mornings with Tony Katz.
Never dawned on me. Wait a second.
Middays with Kendall and Casey.
Some of that is true.
Are you paying your hard-earned money?
Afternoons with Hammer and Nigel.
Was this just the excuse?
That's a fireable offense.
93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our next Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class is coming up on Saturday, March 25th, 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. This is 4.5 hours of the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. We'd love to see you there. Just sign up right online at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
I asked what kind of family she wanted. She said, a family like yours.
Learn more about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
As a Shane Company jewelry consultant, I get to work with couples looking for their dream engagement ring. Many feel overwhelmed. They just don't know where to start. And that's what I love about my job. I get to make this important experience fun and easy. We don't work on commission, so there's no pressure. When you visit, first, I'll want to know, what are your ideas for your dream ring? What fits your lifestyle, your personality, your budget? Then we'll go from there. We'll look at ring settings and I'll show you options for the center stone. For example, if you choose a classic solitaire ring setting, I can show you how it'll look with different center stones, like a pear-shaped diamond or an oval pink sapphire. We have all shapes, colors, and sizes. If you're going for a big look with lots of sparkle, I can show you our halo ring settings. Or, if you want a ring that's ready to go, we can look at our perfectly preset styles. Visit your friends. We're in this together.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-200-1966. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-200-1966. That's 800-200-1966. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-200-1966. 800-200-1966.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Rizza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing and me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new place. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clear skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for what's going to be a brief segment here to wrap up The Gun Guy Show. And I'll tell you what, we've had Brian on hold for a while. Brian, welcome to The Gun Guy Show.
Hi, how you doing?
Good,
hey,
man.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, man.
Sure.
Hey, I have a question. I am a homeowner in the state of Illinois as well as Indiana. I'm interested in getting a permit in Illinois, but I have a medicinal marijuana card. I've been told that I'm going to be denied a gun permit. What can you tell me?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. The way the statute reads is a federal statute, Brian, that says that you cannot possess a firearm. And obviously, if you're a prohibited possessor, quote unquote, then you're not entitled to a license to carry in Indiana. But you're prohibited if you're a user of or addicted to any illegal drugs. And the way the federal government interprets that, and for instance, if you go in to buy a gun anymore and you fill out the 4473 form in the gun store, it said when it asks you that question on the form when you're buying a gun, are you a user of or addicted to any illegal drugs? And it says right there, in a parenthetical, it says including marijuana, even in those states where it's legal. It may even say something about even with a medicinal marijuana card. So now what you have is by having a medicinal marijuana card, there is in some official registry, and I don't know how those work because we don't have them in Indiana. But now in some official registry somewhere, there's documentation that you are, in fact, a user of a drug that's illegal at the federal level under what's called the Controlled Substances Act of 1970. So when you would apply for your license to carry, I would assume that same question, are you a user of or addicted to any illegal drug, appears on that application. It may not. I don't know. It's been so many years since I've applied for it, and I've not had this come up with any of my clients who have been denied a license. But now you're in a catch-22 because you can't say no, because lying on the application, and not that I'm suggesting that you would lie anyway, Brian, but you can't lie on the form because it's a crime to lie on the application. You can't say yes because you just admitted you're a prohibited possessor and you're not going to get your license. If they simply don't ask you one way or the other, which may be the case, I've not heard of anybody having this issue before, but if they simply don't ask you, then the question becomes, will they find out? Will the Indiana State Police find out that, in fact, you have a medicinal marijuana card in Illinois? That's a new one for me. I would be surprised if they did. It's not something I don't even know that they have access to, for instance, or that they would think to run around and search whatever databases there might be, assuming they even have access to them, in every state where marijuana has been legalized or where they have medicinal marijuana. So really fascinating question. I'm glad you called in with that, but I'm pessimistic on your chances because of the way federal law works. And with that, we're wrapping up this week's edition of The Gun Guy Show. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you come back next week. This is Guy Relford.
Hey, the only real estate agent I trust to sell my house is Mark Dietl. For your home office or a growing family, or maybe you need to sell right away because of a job, which happened with Chris and Carly in Indianapolis. They got a job out of the country, but their home was not an easy sell, so they were stressed about the selling. They knew Mark Dietl would guarantee their home sold, so they called him. As promised, their home was listed and sold in the time frame they needed.
Call the agent that we recommend and trust on the Hammer and Nigel show, Mark Dietl. Mark Dietl is the only one that can guarantee an offer